I can't control myself around you, Giant Widow warns the city man, then took him to her cabin. She buried her husband with her own hands. 15 winters alone turned her into a fortress of flesh and bone. But when a refined city man stumbled to her door, begging for warmth, she whispered the words she'd sworn never to speak again. I can't control myself around you. Was it a warning or a promise? The storm didn't knock. It screamed. It slammed into the cabin like it meant to tear the walls down, but the walls didn't budge. They'd been built by her hands, calloused, scarred, stronger than most men's. Everything inside was handmade, hard-earned, and silent. That's how she liked it. Until the silence was broken by something she hadn't heard in years. A knock. It was faint at first, almost drowned out by the wind. She ignored it. Probably a tree branch or the storm playing tricks again. But then it came again, firmer, weaker. A man's voice followed, cracking through the wind like a match in a snowstorm. Please, someone, anyone. She didn't move. Just stood there, staring at the door like it had become something dangerous. Her breath hitched. Her instincts screamed to stay put. But something in that voice, desperation, or maybe something more, pulled her forward. She opened the door with one hand on the shotgun leaning by the frame. And there he was, half buried in snow. His face was pale, lips blue, hat lost, coat soaked. He looked up at her with hollow eyes and collapsed forward into the snow. She cursed under her breath, stepped out barefoot into the cold and grabbed him like he weighed nothing. The wind tore at her hair as she dragged him inside and kicked the door shut behind them. He was barely conscious. She saw the frostbite setting in. His fingers were stiff. His skin looked like porcelain left out in the storm too long. He needed heat. She dropped him in front of the fire and stripped off his coat, then his boots. The shirt was soaked too. Her hands worked fast, rough, without hesitation. Layers peeled away until he lay in nothing but his underclothes. Skin cold but not gone. She wrapped him in the buffalo fur she kept by the hearth for nights like this. She stoked the fire like she meant to wake the dead. Then she sat back on her heels and stared. His chest rose slow. Shallow. But it moved. She shouldn't have opened that door. She knew it the moment she looked at his face. Because he was the kind of man she used to dream about before the world taught her better. Trim beard. Soft hands. Eyes that looked like they'd never seen blood or loss or bones snapped by cold. He stirred. She leaned closer. His lips moved. You saved me. No, she said flatly. I saved your body. That's all. He looked up at her, eyes swimming in confusion. And then she whispered it. The words that made her chest ache as they left her mouth. I can't control myself around you. His brows pulled together. She stood fast. Turned away. Her voice hardened again. You'll sleep here. You'll stay warm. You'll keep to yourself. Then you'll leave. Understand? He nodded, dazed. But the truth was she didn't understand either. He slept for hours, maybe more than a day. She moved around the cabin in silence, doing chores she didn't need to do. Chopping wood she'd already chopped. Cleaning tools already clean. Anything to keep from looking at him. Anything to keep from thinking about the way her hand had trembled when she touched his chest. When he woke, it was dark outside. The fire had burned low, but not out. He blinked, sat up slowly, disoriented. She was sitting in the corner, sharpening her knife. Where am I? He asked, voice still hoarse. Alive, she said. Barely. He coughed, rubbed his face. I remember snow. And your voice. You said. I know what I said. Her jaw clenched. Forget it. But he didn't. He couldn't. Something in the way she stood. The way her muscles rippled beneath that black wool shirt. The way her eyes never quite met his unless they were forced to. He sat up more. I'm Elliot. Elliot Crane. I came from Boston. Was supposed to make it to the silver mines by month's end. But I got lost. She didn't respond. I owe you my life, he added quietly. You owe me nothing, she said. Just don't die in my house. That's all I ask. He laughed softly, then winced. Your house, huh? My husband built it, she replied, eyes cold. I buried him out back 15 years ago. Silence fell. I'm sorry, Elliot said. She said nothing. He looked around, trying to read her from the objects in the room. Everything was sparse. Functional. There were no decorations, no photographs, no clutter. Just strength. Just survival. What's your name? He asked. She stood. Walked to the window. People used to call me Ruth. Back when names mattered. He stood slowly, blanket wrapped around his shoulders. Ruth, thank you. She turned. Her face was tight. Don't thank me. Just know what you're doing. You walk in here, you don't get to walk out the same. This place, it changes people. Or kills them. He met her eyes. What about you? She smiled. Just a hint. Too late for change. Too stubborn to die. That night, the wind picked up again. Another storm. Ruth cooked venison stew in a cast iron pot. The smell filled the room. Earthy. Elliot sat across from her, hunched, hands wrapped around the warm bowl she'd given him. He ate slow. Savored it. Best thing I've ever tasted, he said, sincerely. She raised an eyebrow. You've never been hungry then. He looked at her. Not like this, no. She nodded, not unkindly. Then you've never really lived. Later, as he lay near the fire, she walked past him to check the windows. The wind rattled them hard. He watched her as she moved. Her height. Her strength. The way her body seemed carved from the very woods that surrounded them. You said you can't control yourself around me, he said softly. What did you mean? She stopped. Turned slowly. Her eyes narrowed. You really want to know? He nodded. She stepped closer. Kneeling beside him. The shadows danced across her face, highlighting the sharp lines, the quiet pain hiding behind her stoicism. I've been alone a long time, city man. Too long. When I saw you in that snow, half dead, something broke open in me. Something I buried with my husband. I thought it was gone. Her hand touched the edge of his blanket. She didn't pull it away. I don't want a man, she said. Not really. I don't want the noise, the risk, the mess of feelings. But my body doesn't care what I want. My heart doesn't listen. He swallowed hard. I warned you, she said, her voice now barely a whisper. Because if you stay here, if you let me care for you, I might not let you go. Their eyes locked. I'm not asking to leave, he said quietly. That changed everything. The storm howled all night. Snow piled high against the windows, sealing them inside like a coffin lined in cedar and firelight. But inside, the cabin breathed warm. The flames cracked low and steady, casting gold across the thick log walls. Elliot stirred under the buffalo hide. Ruth sat in her wooden chair across the room, arms crossed tight over her chest, but her eyes never left him. He'd said he wasn't asking to leave. Not yet. That should have terrified her. But instead, something deep in her bones, something she thought had gone numb long ago, ached with a terrible kind of warmth. Dangerous warmth. She stood suddenly, moved to the woodpile and threw another log into the fire like she was angry at the feelings creeping up her spine. The sound startled him. He sat up, blinking at her silhouette outlined by fire. You didn't sleep, he said gently. I sleep with one eye open, she replied. Still protecting me? No. Just watching. I don't trust easy. He nodded. That's fair. She crossed her arms again. Her voice, when it came, was lower. Strained. Why are you here, Elliot? Really? I told you. I got lost on my way to the mines. That's not what I mean. He hesitated. Then slowly he peeled back the blanket, sat up straighter, the chill brushing against his bare skin. I was running from something. Her eyes narrowed. A woman? He shook his head. A life. She waited. I was a broker. Downtown Boston. Fancy suits, glass buildings. Money flying around like confetti. I made rich people richer, while pretending it didn't eat me alive. She tilted her head. So you walked into a storm hoping it would do what you couldn't? He nodded once, eyes cast down. That storm. I didn't expect to survive it. I didn't want to. Her jaw tensed. Well, too bad. You did. And now you're here. He met her gaze. With you. The silence between them stretched tight like a snare. She turned her face away, walked to the window, wiped the frost from the pane. You're not the first man to come through here thinking the wilderness would save him. Or kill him. What happened to them? She looked back at him. They weren't strong enough to stay. The words hung there, heavy as stone. Elliot didn't flinch. Maybe I'm not like them. She looked him over, slowly. He was soft in some ways, but there was something new in his eyes now. Not the same fragile panic he had when he collapsed on her doorstep. Something steady, like resolve. Or surrender. Maybe, she said. But strength here ain't measured in muscle or words. He stood fully now, bare feet hitting the wooden floor. He stepped toward her, slow, like approaching a wild animal. What is it measured in then? He asked. She didn't answer with words. Instead, she reached out, her calloused hand rising like a reflex, and stopped an inch from his face. He didn't move. Didn't blink. Say something stupid, she warned, her voice trembling slightly. Say something soft. Something that'll make me forget I've been alone for 15 winters. And I swear I'll do something I can't undo. Elliot's breath hitched, but he didn't back away. I'm not here to fix you, he said. I just don't want you to be alone tonight. Her fingers moved. They pressed gently against his face, rough pads tracing his cheek like they were memorizing a man's softness for the first time in years. I told you, she whispered. I can't control myself around you. He leaned into her hand. I don't want you to. The moment cracked like ice under boot. She kissed him. Not soft. Not sweet. It was wild and deep, like something starved too long, like something that had waded through frostbite and heartbreak in silence. She kissed him like she needed to prove she was still alive. He kissed her back with every ounce of breath in his chest. They moved like fire and wind, clashing, consuming. Her strength never overpowered him. It held him, sheltered him. His gentleness didn't weaken her. It melted the ice behind her ribs. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, she looked at him differently. Not like a stranger. Not like a threat. Like a question she was willing to ask again. The snowstorm raged for 2 more days. And in those 2 days, they never left the cabin. Ruth showed him how to patch leather, sharpen a hunting knife, hang venison, carve soap from fat. Elliot listened, watched, did what she taught him. His hands fumbled, but his eyes lit up every time she looked at him. They talked late into the night. About things they never told anyone else. Her miscarriages. His failed marriage. The time she had to fight off a bear with nothing but a shovel. The time he wept in the elevator of his office after losing a client's fortune. And in between the stories, they laughed. Not loud. Just little chuckles. Like snow melting off a roof after a long winter. One morning, the snow stopped. Blue skies cracked over the white landscape. Birds returned to the trees. The world was quiet again, but not empty. Ruth stood by the door looking out. Elliot came up behind her, arms sliding around her waist. His head leaned against her back, just below her shoulder blades. I guess this is the part where I go, he said softly. Her jaw clenched. She didn't respond. He pulled back slowly. Unless you say otherwise. She turned to face him. Don't tempt me. I'm not. You don't belong here, she said. You're not built for this. He stepped forward. Then help me build it. She stared at him. For a long time. Like she was looking through every year of pain, through the snow-covered grave out back, through every scar she'd earned and every wall she'd built. Then she nodded. Barely. But it was enough. That night, they sat by the fire again. Same spot. Same quiet. But this time, she wasn't sharpening her knife. She was holding his hand. And when she looked over at him, her voice didn't tremble. You're staying, city man? He looked at her. Only if you promise to never control yourself around me again. She smiled. And for the first time in 15 winters, it reached her eyes. Spring came late in the mountains. The snow took its time melting, like it didn't want to let go of the earth just yet. But green shoots fought their way through the frost, birdsong returned to the branches, and the wind began to smell like life again. Ruth stood barefoot on the porch, arms crossed, watching Elliot split wood with the axe she'd used for 15 years. His form was clumsy, but determined. His coat was too big, hat crooked, face red from the morning chill. He missed every third swing. But she didn't correct him. She just watched. Watched a man who'd come from glass towers and soft hands now digging roots into her dirt. Into her rhythm. Into her silence. He caught her watching. "What?" he asked, laughing breathlessly. She tilted her head. "You hit more than you miss now." "I should hope so. My back's about to snap." She smirked and went back inside. The cabin smelled of strong coffee and boiled elk bones. She stirred the pot slowly, one hand resting on her hip, the other gripping the old wooden spoon that had seen more winters than she could count. Elliot walked in behind her, wiping sweat from his brow. "I can't feel my shoulders." "You're swinging with your arms," she said. "You gotta use your hips." "I don't think I have hips anymore," he muttered. She handed him a cup of coffee. He sipped it, winced. "Still tastes like dirt." "That's because it is dirt," she said dryly. "Mountain dirt builds character." He chuckled, leaned against the counter, and looked at her. "What?" she asked. "I was thinking," he said slowly, "maybe we build something out back." Her brows rose. "Like what?" "I don't know. A greenhouse. A bench. A second cabin." She eyed him. "Planning to franchise me?" "I'm planning to stay." She went quiet. He set the mug down and moved closer. "I mean it, Ruth. Not just for the season. I'm not drifting anymore." Her shoulders stiffened. "Don't make promises just because the snow melted." "I'm making them because you didn't." She turned to face him. Her eyes searched his face. Not for lies. For weakness. For crust. But what she saw was steady. Soft but steady. "I buried my husband," she said. "Right under that pine out back. I know. He was good to me. Kind. I know. I don't want to forget him." "You don't have to." Tears welled in her eyes, sudden and angry, like they'd been hiding behind ice. "I loved him. And now," she choked, shaking her head, "now you walk in here and you don't even know what you're doing to me." He took her face in both hands. "I don't need you to stop loving him. I just need you to let yourself love again." She closed her eyes and the tears fell. This time, she didn't turn away. He held her. Not to rescue her. Not to claim her. But to let her fall without breaking. Later that evening, they sat on the porch together. No words. Just the creak of old wood, the chirp of insects, the wind in the tall trees. The horizon blushed pink as the sun tucked itself behind the ridge. Elliot reached over and took her hand. It was rough. Scarred. Cold. He held it like it was silk. She didn't pull away. After a long silence, she said, "You're not afraid anymore." He looked out at the land. "No. You should be. Life out here will chew you up." He glanced at her. "I've been chewed up before. This time, I've got something worth fighting for." She let that hang there. He turned toward her. "I want to plant something," he said. "I want to watch it grow." "You're really not going back, are you?" He shook his head. "There's nothing back there but noise." She squeezed his hand. "I'll show you how to live quiet." He smiled. "Promise." Her voice cracked. "I promise." That summer, they built the greenhouse together. It leaned slightly to the left, and the roof leaked whenever it rained too hard. But inside, tomatoes grew fat and red, herbs curled sweet in the sun, and a small vine of beans wrapped around a wire hook he found near the old barn. Ruth carved a new name into the porch beam beside her late husband's initials. It said E+R, and she didn't apologize for it. She told Elliot he had to earn the right to carve it deeper. He said he'd spend the rest of his life doing just that. Fall came again. They chopped firewood, canned peaches, hunted elk, and argued about how to dry the meat. They danced in the kitchen to no music. They buried a sick raccoon behind the cabin and cried harder than they expected. They kissed under the stars like teenagers. One night, after a long silence by the fire, Elliot turned to her and said, "Ruth, the day I showed up here, you warned me." She looked over. "Yeah, I did. You said you couldn't control yourself around me." She smiled, slow and wide. I still can't. He leaned in, pressed his forehead to hers. Good. And the fire crackled on. Not burning everything down. Just keeping them warm. Together. Boys. Thanks for watching.